Greetings, folks, and welcome to a live launch party for The Private Vault of Aleister Crowley from Black Ink Fiction. Now, I'm going to be joined by four of my fellow scribes this evening from all over, everywhere, pretty much. We've got people from over the pond. We've got people from over that way. Yeah, it's going to be a good night. We're going to do some readings. And as always, if you have any questions for us, get them down in the comments and we'll go through them as we go along, and you'll have a bit of time at the end to ask any questions you like about the stories, about the readings and all that kind of stuff. Sorry, you'll have to excuse me, I'm a little bit under the weather. Now, the mastermind of this project, Mr. Nicholas Wilkinson, is also under the weather, so unfortunately he can't be joining us this evening. But basically this project was an invite-only project, and it was all Nick's idea. He came up with it. Basically, what it was he wanted to do something like the old anthology TV series, you know, like Tales from the Crypt and Twilight Zone, Night Gallery, all that kind of thing, where you have like a narrator type come on and introduce an artifact or an object or a painting. In this case, it's a strange occult object from the private vault of Aleister Crowley. So there you go. And that's where it come in. So we all basically chose an object, created an object, went off and wrote a story about said object. And yeah, it all came together really nicely. Nick did a great job of leading it. So thanks, Nick. Cheers for inviting me first and foremost. And yeah, sorry you can't be with us. But anyway, somebody who could be with us is an old favourite of these live events. I was going to say my long-haired lover from Liverpool, but he's not. He's my red-haired lover from Liverpool, Mr. Callum Pearce.
Yeah, hello, I was long-haired this morning, but I've trimmed the wig. So.
Oh, that's it. I saw the picture with you could be a mask on.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to make an effort, have you?
Oh, exactly.
Doesn't fucking help, like. No, that's that.
Yeah, this is it. I'm getting one of those Chelsea facelifts, you know, tie a knot at the back of my head. So then, yeah, what was your object? What did you decide to go with?
Mine was a soul clock, because I'd written the story already. For myself as for a different thing. Just, you know, sometimes you work specifically for a project and sometimes you work for your own thing, just something you fancy writing. But that version was much camper and sillier and dafter, and I think Nick wants silly you. Well, it still is. I mean, it's still got a good heavy dose of camp in it. You know, it's not. Yeah. It's not like it can be avoided in my writing.
Yeah, I'd be disappointed if it didn't, mate.
Yeah, but then so it was just tweaking it slightly and making it a bit kind of darker and a bit more kind of giving it a bit more edge, basically. But it's still screaming the camp.
Brilliant. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, yeah. Because you know, you can always count on me and you to bring the camp and the ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, but it needs it, doesn't it? Horror. Yeah. It needs a bit of the edge taken off sometimes.
Yeah. It's also, I like to put, you know, the old pulling the rug out thing. Have them chuckling 1 minute and then go the next.
Yeah, and I love. I mean, especially with this one, I love baddies who are just like deliciously bad. You know, they're just so evil and vile. Like, so the demon in it is just really evil and vile and a bit camp, and the main character is just rancid. You know, he's just a horrible, awful person. It's like,
excellent. Now, are we levels of camp? Are we talking Eric Roberts' master levels of camp? Or...
No, it's just got some bitchiness to it, and the main character's quite camp, but the demon's quite bitchy as well. But I'm not bringing the demon in for this reading because I just wanted to introduce the main character rather than get into the gubbins of it, because he's the kind of character you want bad things to happen to, so you'd be like that.
Excellent. So, right, yeah, do you want to give us a little bit of a reading then, sir? Do you want to introduce your story and go for it, and then just give me a wave when you're done?
Okie dokie.
Right, cheers, mate.
Well, this is Spirit of Liverpool. I've just kind of basically mentioned everything you need to know about it. Usually for this, I'd go in for like a bit of action, but with this, I just wanted to introduce the character, and that's the kind of opening section of the story. So I'm just going to dive in with that. when I find it. The great and powerful spirit counsellor Terry James sat in St John's Food Hall in Liverpool. He was scratching his balls and grimacing at a nearby crying child. He was dressed in his full spooky medium drag. Terry always wore a smart white suit, pastel-coloured shirt, silver tie, and as much tacky occult-looking jewellery as he could hang off himself without tipping over. He had realised a long time ago that when people saw him coming with his perfectly set silver hair and his bright shining white clothes, their first thoughts were of purity, decency and kindness. They pictured nurses or angels and transferred onto him the traits they expected from those people. Everything he did was calculated to mislead and distract, to make sure that he always started out with the upper hand. He was sort of happy with where his life was at the moment. He was recognised everywhere he went from many of his television shows and earned a decent amount of money. So he should be happy, according to him at least. He'd done his time sitting on ridiculous daytime television shows, telling idiots that called in why the pet goat had gone off his food or the dog was chasing the postman. The answer could never be, because it's a fucking dog, you dumb shit. He had to make up some ridiculous story based on the personality of the caller or whatever clues he could pick out of the brief conversation. And then there were the babies. Screaming, oozing, farting, dripping balls of shit and vomit, plonked in front of him so that he could dazzle the Prozac and gin-filled audience of some lunchtime chat show by revealing their mother's not-so-secret alcoholism. Clued in not by his psychic connection to the baby, just the mottled complexion and shaking hands of the pathetic mess in front of him. The audience would gasp in horror. The smell of their own afternoon drinking and hypocrisy wafted out as they judged the poor bastard getting outed on the stage. "Oh, he says he doesn't like it when Mummy has the special drinks and gets angry," he would say, pretending to feel the emotions of the child. Then he would look imploringly at the audience for extra effect. "Oh, he cries when Daddy comes home and shouts at Mummy." A little lip quiver for the audience who were lapping it up with horrified looks on their faces. "Mummy plays hide and seek with the bottles, but he doesn't understand why Daddy gets angry when he finds them." He would slide the knife right into the poor woman's back and twist, watching her sob and slump in shame in front of the disgusted audience of hypocrites. Her only crime was being gullible and asking a fake psychic to help her. "And the cats," he said, remembering the whiff of cat piss off her when they briefly met before the show. "He doesn't like that you don't clean up after them because they go to the toilet all over the house and he sometimes has to crawl through it." The audience was disgusted watching the pathetic creature in front of them break down, but they were excited as well. The gasps thrilled him. They all knew what it would be like to be on that stage, having their lives spread in front of a baying mob. Relief that it was some other poor cow and a feeling that the scruffy little thing was getting a comeuppance gave them all a sort of buzz. He would look at his hands horrified for a few minutes so that everybody could fully picture the poor baby crawling through shit. And this poor man on the stage having to psychically experience it now. He hated dragging himself out for what he called chav TV, dealing with predictable people with predictable problems. Just nobodies shoved in front of him every day, wearing their whole lives on their sunken faces. The tattered clothes and choice of jewellery told him half of what he needed to know. So desperate to be heard that they would give him the rest of their story subliminally, so he could dazzle the audience and destroy their self-confidence. The fault would always come back to the pet owner or the parent, of course. They were the ones standing in front of him, twitching and blinking as he prodded with seemingly innocent questions or statements. Little clues told him all he needed to know. Yeah, and that's your lot, innit?
Excellent, bravo. Nice. Have you been watching Derek Akora's Ghost Towns or something when you watched that?
There's a bit of him, there's a bit of that other knobhead as well, the baby whister, what's his name?
Oh,
Derek Ogilvie.
Yeah.
But just all of those people, all of those vile people who prey on people's misery and belief and grief and everything.
Well, is that late night and afternoon TV, isn't it? It's
Daytime telly,
daytime TV and late night telly. Yeah, the bits when nobody's really like normal people are watching. Nice one, excellent, mate. Yeah, that was absolute great reading. Some bloke called Robert says you're doing
little hobbit.
Yeah, there you go.
He's watching the pets in the other room.
We've also been joined, as I mentioned earlier, the lead of this project, Nick, couldn't be with us, but he's there in the comments.
Yay!
Yeah, and he likes the ridiculous stayed with both of our stories. Yeah.
Take pride in our work. What can we say?
Oh yeah, exactly. This is it. Also, one of the other authors is here with us. Melody McIntyre is here. Greetings, who's also under the weather. There's something going about.
That time of year, isn't it?
Yeah. It's December. Everyone just gets sick, don't they? Righty ho. Matt Hawke says he was picking up Derek Acora mixed with Jerry Springer.
There's also a bit of Springer, definitely.
Yeah, I was thinking Jeremy Kyle in there and all from over here. Yeah.
Yeah, he's absolutely rancid, I swear down. He's a vile character. Loads of fun to write though.
It is, isn't it? Excellent, mate. Right, I'll see you very shortly. I'm going to bring on my next guest. We're going to go over the pond this time, and we're going to bring on Mr. Brian MacDonald. Brian, a pleasure, mate. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there. How are you?
Yeah, good. So whereabouts are you in the world?
I am in Somerville, Massachusetts. I'm just like a town over from Boston.
Oh, cool. So similar neck of the woods to this reprobate here, Matt Hawks. He's in Lovecraft country, just over. Nice. Yeah. So what object did you go for then?
It is a little pin that someone was wearing for a racing club back in the 50s.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah, so what were your initial thoughts when Nick came to you with this project? Did it come to your head fully formed, or did you have to dig for a bit?
The characters I have, Francis and Rory, I've enjoyed writing them, and then I'm like the last guy in. Nick made an offer. My wife saw it. She told me, and I just went whole hog and said, "Please let me in."
Nice, yeah.
And then he was nice enough to let me in, and I went okay. And so it's Francis and Rory. They're the married private investigators. He's a bar bouncer and she's a druid.
Nice.
And weird crap always happens to them.
Excellent. Right. Are you going to give us a bit of a reading then, sir?
Absolutely.
Cool. If you just give us an introduction and go for it, just give me a nod or a wave when you're done.
Sure. Hey, folks. I'm going to be reading Lie Down, Johnny Jump Up. It's Francis and Rory. They're married. They're private investigators. Like I mentioned, he's a bar bouncer and she's an actual druid. And they're kind of who you call when you don't have any other options and you're on a budget. So, Lie Down, Johnny Jump Up. Francis pulled his 1985 Caprice Classic over to the side of the road at the cemetery. The beast, as he and his wife called the car, wasn't pretty. It was battered and dented two-tone blue on most of the body with a red passenger side door because they needed to replace it, but they couldn't afford the repaint. Not much to look at, but it had what they needed. A big trunk for supplies and a V8 engine for when they needed to get away quickly. Francis turned off the car and waited for the knocking to stop. For the umpteenth time, he reminded himself that she needed to be seen by a decent mechanic. Then he turned to his wife with a fairly basic question. Hon, why are we at a cemetery in the middle of nowhere, Massachusetts at midnight? You didn't read the file, did you? Rory tilted her head and snapped a knowing look at Francis. No. The Sox had extra innings today against the Yankees. And between the 8th inning heroics and the pitching battle between the bullpens, they're still playing. Is that why you're wearing your hat like that? Rory pointed at the black and white Boston Red Sox ball cap on her husband's head. It was turned inside out, upside down, and backward on his head. Like this? Francis pointed at his head. I'm going rally cap. The boys need all the help they can get. Then he turned the keys backward in the starter. The power of the car fired up and the radio blared into life. The Sox and Yankees were still tied. 17th inning. That makes absolutely 0 sense, love. Rory frowned and shook her head. 0. You got your magic, Rory. Francis tipped his cap toward his wife. I got mine. You realize you never read the files, don't you? Well, there was that one time. Rory sighed. Then, after closing her eyes and massaging her temples for a solid 30 seconds, she stretched up to turn on the car's dome light. She handed the file to Francis. Here, take a look at it now. Francis flipped through the file. The Sox were up. It was the bottom of the lineup, though. Batters 7 through 9. They probably wouldn't do much. He could afford to not pay attention to the game. The file had Rory's classic handiwork. Lots of background info, photos, post-it notes on everything. Francis's head swam. Where'd he even start? So, Francis looked up from the file. What am I looking at? I see 2 dead people in caskets and lots of background info. What's the deal with them? One of those dead people, or someone connected to them, is causing problems for the cemetery. Causing problems. Francis flipped back and forth between photos of the persons in the files. How does an old lady in a flower dress or a dude in Coast Guard dress blues cause problems for the cemetery? Good question. All the owners can tell us is that there have been complaints ever since those 2 were buried. There have been noises at night, movements after the gates are locked up, and holes found near graves. So someone's looking for something? Francis snapped the file closed with a frown and handed it back to Rory. Are we thinking grave robbers? I hate them. Creepy bastards. Or something else. Rory flipped the file open and studied the photos. I have a bad feeling about this. I'm missing something. Yes! Francis jumped in his seat and punched the steering wheel. What? Rory dropped the file, looking at like she expected her husband to explain some sort of clue that he had figured out. The Sox won! A sacrifice fly! Brought in the guy from third! Francis leaned over to Rory and gave her a big smooch in the cheek. Then with a flourish, he took off his cap and returned to his natural state. My magic works too. Told you. Rory strolled up to Dennis Denny McAllister's gravesite. From the light of her flashlight, she could tell it was a well-kept section of the cemetery. Fresh flowers sat in containers near well-marked graves. Some stones, the ones most visited, had flowers planted and growing. Small, immaculate flags stood at attention near each one. Francis snapped a quick salute before stepping up. Then he wandered a quick circle around the site, shovel in hand and light low, looking for holes in the ground. Nothing here, hon. Maybe the keeper's cleaned up? Could be. Rory pulled her file from her burgundy oversized knockoff Vera Bradley bag. She flipped to the photos of Dennis and studied them in the light of her flashlight. He was in a crisp blue suit of an officer in the Coast Guard. She didn't recognize the ribbons or patches on his jacket, but thought they looked appropriate. Okay. Stupid question. Francis lumbered over and loomed his 6'5" self over Rory. There are no stupid questions, Rory murmured, not looking up. Just stupid people asking questions. Francis chuckled. Fair point. Rory looked over her shoulder. What's your question? What's with the photos of people in caskets? Francis frowned thoughtfully. I mean, who'd want those? Morticians. They need them for notes and protection. Protection? You got to be kidding me. No, sadly, they can get sued by families. Apparently, there have been battles between family members about what they want Great Aunt Ethel to look like. Does she wear her Sunday best? What about her hat and her pearls? Wait, so some tool will sue because they disagree about how someone is dressed before they go on the ground. And they'll sue when they didn't want certain objects left with the family members, like Auntie Ethel's priceless pearls. Well, that sucks. Dude can get sued for just doing his job. Francis leaned over Rory's shoulder. But I guess it gets us these creepy photos to help, though. You see anything interesting? No. That's what worries me. Watch my back, love? Rory handed her purse to Francis. Sure, he smirked with a wink as he threw it over his shoulder. I'm going to keep an eye on you, if you don't mind. Like I could stop you if I tried? Rory winked back and blew a quick kiss. Rory was a druid, and not one of those lovely Wiccans recreating an ages-old religion for modern times. No, she was a full-blooded, born and raised druid from the oldest, most powerful family of druids ever to walk the earth. But they were all dead and gone, and she was the last one left in the world as far as she knew. Rory took a deep breath and closed her eyes. She waited a full 4 seconds before slowly releasing the air through her nose. She repeated this, calming her heart and focusing her mind. Then, as centered as she could get, Rory opened her eyes a crack and viewed the world through the haze of her eyelashes. At first, she saw only the inky black darkness of the cemetery night. But, eventually, one by one, softly glowing threads of gold appeared in the air. These threads connected everything with everything. They floated, traces of paths between people, objects, and places, stuck in the veil between here and the realms of magic and the dead forevermore. The first thing that Rory noticed about the threads around Dennis's gravesite was that they weren't complicated. That's not to say they weren't strong. They're thick and brightly growing. There was a thick and brightly glowing line leading directly to the grave from the front gate. A loved one? His funeral program in her files said that he was 28 when he died heroically trying to save refugees off the coast of Florida. Maybe a girlfriend or wife? Rory kneeled down and reached toward the line, touching it lightly. A flood of emotion hit her. Love, sorrow, pride, loss. A parent? A depth of love and pride for Dennis was so strong, the type only possible after a decade-long relationship. The next thing that Rory noticed wasn't there anything else to notice. The lines went where they should. Some were older, some were stronger, but all in all, they did what they should. Nothing odd about the gravesite. What do you need, love? Rory didn't look back. She assumed that Francis had a dumb question. Nothing, Francis replied in a bored voice. Why? You just said, Had you already forgotten who was going to ask? It wouldn't be the first time. No, I didn't, Francis corrected with an annoyed growl. Yes, you did. Rory stood and turned toward her husband behind her. You were right behind me, and... Francis was not behind her. He was to her left, staring off into the darkness, presumably guarding her against whatever unseen thing was out there. Directly behind her, 10 feet away, there was a dead man, stepping out of a fresh grave, dragging himself toward Rory.
Excellent. Brilliant. Yeah, I'm loving the interactions there with the couple. And Nick's actually commented that so many people have already mentioned how much they love the couple. And one of the editors of Black Ink Fiction, that Shelley, even mentioned that she was smitten with them. So, yeah, bravo. Well done, mate.
Thank you so much. It means the world to me that people like them because I love writing them. Yeah,
it's nice, isn't it, when people like a character you've created? It sort of makes it, it's like the cherry in it. There's nothing worse than you really like a character and other people don't.
Well, it's bananas. I don't want to tell tales here, but Rory may be based on my wife, and so if people really like Rory, that's really nice because they really like my wife.
Nice,
and she likes that too. So
nice, excellent. Matt Hawke says he's getting Call of Cthulhu RPG vibes from that, which I can see that with the investigators going to the graveyard and stuff like that. Is that Jason Eckhart's artwork behind you?
Up in the back, that is actually that's from Hawkeye and the West Coast Avengers limited series. That's original art. And for the RPG question, if I don't answer this correctly, my friend Trent will kill me. Francis actually was created when he decided to visit, and we played Unknown Armies.
Nice. Excellent.
So that's where it comes from.
Oh, excellent. That's brilliant. There were a lot of people saying you did a great job. Then you did a very good job on that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, excellent. Right, so we'll bring you back on in just a while, and I'm going to bring on the next guest. This next guest was very. I think they are the only one who's actually got a copy of the book because it's December and Amazon are rubbish in December. So yeah, I'd like to bring on. Hang on, I think they're just finding it. There we go. Right, I'm going to bring on Declan Liam McKendrick. Hello, how are you doing?
Hello. I'm good. I actually have 3 copies of the book because I am over-prepared.
Yes, well done. I saw you doing a bit of an air punch there when he was talking about the artwork.
Yeah, Hawkeye and West Coast Avengers is one of those things where people kept telling me, you need to get into this, you'll absolutely love it. And I kept going, nah, I'll get to it when I get to it.
Yeah.
And then I read like half of like one issue, and next thing I knew, it was like 20 issues deep.
Nice. Excellent. So whereabouts are you in the world then?
I'm in Bonnie, Scotland.
There we go. Excellent. Whereabouts?
Scottish Borders.
Ah, right. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, because I've got family up in the Highlands, so up Arbroath that way. So, yeah. So what object did you go for?
So mine is all about the timepiece of chaos, because I
Nice.
like to overdo it with the mythos.
Nice.
It's a generic, well, I say generic, it's a designer wristwatch, one of the high-end ones, that was destroyed and imbued with the soul of a evil being.
Nice.
So it works
Excellent.
kind of like a genie or a djinn, but like also not.
Ah, cool. Cool. Yeah, so a bit of a twist on the sort of usual sort of thing. It's not rubbing the lamp kind of job.
No.
Yeah. Excellent. Righto, are you all right to give us a bit of a reading then?
Yes.
Marvelous. You're going to give us an introduction and go for it, and just give me a wave or whatever when you're done.
No bother.
Cheers.
Yeah, so this Jack White and the Timepiece of Chaos starts. It's a story set at like the halfway point of the character's life, and it's all about them coming to terms with the trauma of their past. So I'm just going to jump in at the beginning. Look, I get this is going to sound cliche, and gods, I even promised Adaria I wouldn't start it this way. Honestly, though, the fact that my timepiece of chaos is still active and forced into the hands of someone who could only ever abuse it means one thing. I must be dead, and the gods have failed me. Now, I know that probably sounds scary. The creator of the artifact is dead. How shall I fare if the great chaos magi is gone? But honestly, I'm okay with this. The thought of knowing that the gods can no longer abuse me every time they make a mistake makes me happy. I only hope that my afterlife is far less hectic than my actual life. Maybe I got into Elysium. Maybe the Abrahamics actually let me into heaven. Or maybe I decided to join my siblings in the great chaos lands beyond, partying my afterlife away. When you consider how many reapers, revenant paladins, overseers, angels, and demons I've killed over the tragically short years of my life, that's probably not the case. I'm probably in purgatory being tortured for eternity by every pantheon I crossed. But worry not, dear reader, for this shall not be your fate. No, you are most likely a sacred order magi, chosen by the heretical gods to continue where I left off and to re-break all the problems I fixed. Knowing Athena, you were given this item so that you could charge into battle and save the world. But if you want to know the truth, there's a good chance the watch will kill you long before any evil magi, dark lord, or eldritch horror does. The artifact is powered by pure chaos magic and overseen by an archdemon that only ever humored my presence, and we were bound by blood. The watch has a mind of its own, and if I'm dead, then it has lost its sense of purpose and is probably out for blood. With that blood being any, of course. No, if you want to succeed and truly finish what I have started, then I guess you'll have to listen to my tale of woe, or read it, or gods, however you're finding this information, just pay attention. I'm not giving you a step-by-step user's guide because, frankly, I don't want you to use it. I never really wanted me to use it. Instead, as one last screw you to the great goddess Athena, I'm going to inform you of my mistakes. I'm going to tell you about how it came to be and the trauma that formed it. I'm going to introduce you to the archdemon controlling it and explain why that was a mistake. and I'm going to show you the true risk a chaos engine can provide to its unprepared user. Then I'm going to convince you to destroy it and to run as fast and as far as you can from the gods.
Brilliant. I love that narration style. That's great.
So Jack is essentially a over-exaggerated version of myself that I created in, I personally say, primary school, but according to my parents, I've been telling stories about this character since I was 4. So
Nice. No, I love it. He's a brilliant character. It just comes through in that bit of narration that you did there. It's like it's just loaded with personality. You've done a great job with that. Yeah. Nick actually posted up that what he loved about your story is that there was an idea that you wanted to run with. It was different, very stylistic, and he loved your passion for it. What we got was exceptional. So thank you. You did a fantastic job. Yeah, I totally go with that.
I just want to say thank you to Nick for letting me be a part of this, and to apologize completely for the amount of stress I put you under. I technically cheated with this story. Mine is 10,000 words because I needed to bounce against that word limit. Yeah. And I technically snuck 3 stories into one by sandwiching it with bookends. So it's more like 5 stories in one.
That's pretty much what I do. Yeah, because we were both over the limit, weren't we?
Yeah. So the limit had to be changed because of me. At one point, he stopped counting because I was worried about writing too much. And he goes, "Oh, don't worry. No matter what you do, Tim Mendees will write way more. So don't worry." And apparently, I took that as a personal threat.
Yeah, I think you beat me by 500 words, didn't you, or something?
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Well done.
I think at one point during the edits, I got a message from Nick complaining about how many edits I was making, and to just message him when I was done.
Nice. Yeah, you've had another message here saying from Craig saying, "Seeing your writing develop since you were kids has been amazing." So yeah, he's proud of you. So yeah, excellent, brilliant. Cool. Yeah, right. Yeah, brilliant job on that. I'm going to take you off and I'll bring you back on. So if anybody has any more questions for Declan, get them in the comments. Questions for us all. We'll do a little bit of Q&A at the end, you know, all that jazz. Right, for our next guest, we're going to go back over the pond to the United States of America, and we're going to be joined by Destiny Pifer. Destiny, hi. How are you doing?
Doing okay. How are you doing?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. It's very strange seeing that bright sunlight over there when it is darkness here.
It's actually dark here. It's rainy here. So
is it?
It's a tapestry, I guess.
Right, got you. So whereabouts are you then?
I live in a small town called Big Run, Pennsylvania.
Cool, excellent.
It's actually not very far from Punxsutawney, where Punxsutawneyville is.
Ah, right. Excellent. Cool. So what object did you choose?
I chose a jade necklace.
A jade necklace. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
And there's actually a story behind it. There really is a jade necklace. It really is in my family's possession, and I really do believe that it is cursed.
Nice. Nice. So this was all. This was sort of, yeah. This is writing from reality, then, is it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it came from my imagination, but I do believe there's a curse over this object.
Nice. Excellent.
Which is why I don't touch it.
Yeah. Get it locked away somewhere.
It is locked away, yeah.
Yeah. Don't bring it out for parties. It'll all go wrong. That's where it all goes wrong, when people bring out the old family heirloom for a party or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Excellent. So you all right to give us a bit of a reading and introduce your story, and just give me a wave when you're ready for me to come back on.
All right. I'm a little nervous. I mean,
it'll be fine.
I didn't know how many pages you wanted us to do, or
I said in the comment in the thing earlier.
I know.
Don't worry. Yeah, just go. 2 or 3 pages, 3 to 5, between 2 and 5 pages. Yeah, just wing it. Whenever you're ready to stop, just stop and just give me a wave. Cool.
Okay. All right.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. All right. Cheers.
All right. So my story is centered around a cursed jade, and it begins with a young girl who is trying to find the truth about this jade and find out how it became cursed. The young girl sat among the cluttered mounds of papers, digging through boxes of more as her knees slid across the floor. She was on a desperate mission, and that mission involved a small rectangular black box that set off to the side. Since beginning a few hours before, she had vowed to stay focused no matter how much the box beckoned her. It was good at beckoning people to take a peek, and once they did, they were mesmerized by what they found inside. That was the power it held, and it was deadly. She had witnessed its power firsthand, watched how it had destroyed lives, and now, as she sat among countless hours of research, she knew that the curse went far beyond her own family. It extended back to the early 1800s, or at least that is as far as she was able to go. The jade originally belonged to a British woman by the name of Sarah Williams, who had been engaged to a handsome explorer named Sir Bradley Lawrence. Bradley had been on an expedition when he came across the jade and immediately sent it back to Sarah, despite the outcries from the natives. Not long after he arrived in London, Bradley suddenly became ill. The doctors couldn't explain what the fever was, but deep down Sarah knew. He lay in bed for several days, delirious and rambling like a madman. Sarah watched as her beloved began wasting away until nothing was left but skin and bones. He suffered in great agony before passing from the mysterious illness. Sarah soon found herself destitute and needing a new beginning, so she hopped aboard a ship that was heading to America. During the voyage, disaster seemed to follow. Many became deathly ill, while others were tormented by horrible nightmares. The rocky waters left the captain and his men fighting to keep the ship afloat. Many times Sarah feared that the ship would sink, but at last it finally struck land. Once she arrived, Sarah set out in search of a place to call home. Despite her hardships and need for money, she couldn't bear to part with the jade, for it reminded her of her beloved Bradley. She hitched up with a wagon train and headed out west. But when her wagon broke down, she was rescued by a handsome settler named Jacob. Jacob and Sarah were soon married, and at first seemed happy until Sarah began to change. She started wearing the jade every day, and her frustration with her many miscarriages left her in a deep depression. She then began to fear that she was losing her husband. She watched as he locked eyes with the minister's beautiful daughter and immediately sensed an attraction. Jacob had already begun distancing himself from his wife, who he felt disappointed him. She'd become sickeningly thin and was unable to give him the children he so desperately wanted. Giving in to temptation, he engaged in a secret affair with the minister's daughter. However, unbeknownst to both of them, Sarah had started having visions of their affair and was determined to destroy them both. At first, Sarah had thought them to be horrible nightmares, but every night she saw them in a loving embrace and witnessed their forbidden passion. With every passing day, the visions grew stronger as she could see the guilt on her husband's face. So one dark night, when both were in the throes of passion, in an abandoned barn, Sarah took an axe and drove it deep into her husband's back. She then split his lover's skull and watched as the woman lay withering in agony. Feeling her husband coming toward her, she swung the axe and watched as his head became detached from his body. She was found covered in blood, rocking back and forth on the front porch. After she was sent away to the sanitarium, the jade was taken by a doctor who was intrigued by it. He found that it would be the perfect gift for his wife. However, the moment they brought it home to their children, suddenly became ill with fever, and he was forced to watch as each one passed. When their infant passed, he found his wife still clutching the young one's body and rocking back and forth in the rocking chair. When he tried to take the child's body, his wife let out a loud scream and forced him out of the room. He found her dead the next day, still clutching the body close to her. Buried in grief and filled with anger, the doctor held the jade in the palm of his hand. He remembered how his patient Sarah had been wearing it when she went insane, how she had been found rocking back and forth the same way as his beloved wife. He remembered how the locals had told him of Sarah's first husband dying from the same fever that had claimed his family. He began to wonder if there was a connection to the jade. Was it perhaps cursed? He wondered. If it hadn't been for the death of his family and the insanity that was inflicted upon Sarah, he would never have believed it. When he tried to destroy the jade, he found himself suddenly blinded. He was found wandering half-starved in the woods nearby. The jade was found among the burnt embers of the fire by a young servant girl who took it with her when she found work elsewhere. The moment she stepped foot in her new employer's home, the young girl found herself pulled aside by an African-American maid by the name of Leah, who warned the girl that the jade was cursed. Leah told her the power of the jade held was pure evil and that it would continue to destroy everyone who possessed it.
Excellent. Well done. Yeah. You did it. You can breathe now. It is nerve-wracking, isn't it? The first time you do it.
It is, yeah.
You did a great job. So yeah, great setup there. Really good classic sort of horror setup there, which I think somebody else mentioned. Yeah, Melody mentioned the same thing. Yeah, classic horror story mistake. bringing home a necklace from a murder house. Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think if you ask pretty much any family, there's going to be an object or something in the history, isn't there? I think most families have a cursed object or something that has bad luck. Or yeah, it's interesting.
I definitely agree.
Yeah. So have you got a lead box for the jade necklace? Yeah.
Yeah.
Lead box. Get some wards on it.
It's in a little tiny box, and then it's in a big box that has a combination lock.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, Nick says there's something scary about such an unassuming object being so terribly influential on our lives. You can swing an axe at a zombie, but you can't really fight a curse. It's so true. Yeah, great job. Felt that the story was all about despair and made him very uneasy. So yeah, brilliant job. Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, so I'll take you off and I'll bring you back on in just a moment. Sorry. Yeah, so that just leaves me to do a bit of a reading. I decided to go, as I usually do, with something of a Lovecraftian nature. And I'd written 4 novelettes starring a certain Eugene Angove. I wanted for years to create a kind of occult detective, but a crap one, a really rubbish one. So sort of like a Carnacki type, but I wanted them to be a bit like Bertie Wooster in a way, a bumbling British idiot that sort of accidentally stops the old ones rising, that kind of thing. So I'd already written 4 novelettes, all about 10,000 words, when Nick came to me with this idea for this anthology for the Vault, and about an object, a cursed object, something like that. And I'd wanted to go back to earlier days in Eugene Angove's story, when he'd been an explorer after the war, and he'd been an explorer out in Egypt, and so that's basically where it came from. And it's called the Eugene Angove and the Staff of Neferenka. Lovecraft aficionados will know that name. For those who don't, I ain't going to spoil anything. But so I'm just going to do a little bit of a reading. I'm going to start right at the beginning because I don't want to go into major spoiler territory. Okay. May the 4th, 1925, Cairo, Egypt. Good night, Ammon. Take care, won't you? I hear another body was fished from the Nile today. Bloody cutthroats everywhere. Professor Edmund Wadsworth gave his youthful assistant a cheery wave as he closed the wooden doors of the museum behind him. Ammon had been the last of the museum staff to leave. The only other person around was a stunningly useless night watchman loping around the exhibition hall somewhere, stretching his legs to get the kinks out of his calves and giving his arms a bit of a shake. Wadsworth turned and headed back towards the storage area. The interior of the grand building was delightfully cool, putting it into stark contrast with the oppressive heat outside. As an Englishman from the northeast, he wasn't built to deal with high temperatures and arid conditions. This was one of the reasons that usually stayed late after closing. Leaving the polished marble and grand display cases behind, Wadsworth slipped through a nondescript door hidden by a large cardboard diagram of the Great Pyramid. Down a small flight of stairs and into the labyrinthine bowels of the building. Away from prying eyes, the various artifacts and discoveries, either waited to be displayed, cleaned, or examined, or had been previously retired, languished in dusty crates and on cluttered shelves. This was both the birthplace of the museum's exhibitions and its graveyards. There were no windows in this part of the museum, so everything was cast in a sickly yellow hue from the dim gaslighting. Long shadows danced and loomed from the corners and coiled around wooden crates and shelving. As his eyes adjusted to the dramatic change in the light, Wadsworth gave his spectacles a good buffing with a handkerchief and prepared to get a couple of hours of serious work in while the sun went down. The collection of artifacts recently uncovered by self-styled British adventurer Eugene Angove had been keeping his brain occupied ever since they arrived. It was quite possibly one of the most important archaeological discoveries on record. Wadsworth found it quite amusing that some of the finest minds in the field of archaeology had been searching for evidence of the lost city of Irem for decades, with no joy. Then some bumbling drunken oaf from Cornwall practically stumbled over it. Still, that was often the way of things. You can have all the intelligence in the world and still be outdone by sheer bumbling luck. Pausing in the first large storage room, Wadsworth shook his head at the mess some of his students had left. They were engaged in cleaning the filth off some recently unearthed canopic jars and had left piles of dust, sand, and cleaning materials all over the lengthy workbench. Lazy buggers, he grumbled. They haven't even bothered to sweep up. If he wasn't careful, all the muck would be trampled throughout the museum, drawing the ire from the vicious harridan that did the cleaning. He had been on the receiving end of the woman's wrath on more than one occasion, and it was something he wished to avoid in the future if at all possible. Fine, he sighed heavily as he took the broom from the corner of the room. I'll do it, shall I? As he commenced sweeping, Wadsworth thought about the oddities that awaited him in his personal workshop. As the head curator, he had the best equipment and working area in the museum. It was also the area with the best security, so it made sense that the Angove collection be stored there. It also meant that not many eyes outside of Angove's team and a small group of museum staff had seen what Angove had discovered. Amongst the usual minutiae of an excavation, pottery, daggers, and the like, Angove had found an entrance to an underground fane. And being the bull in a china shop that he was, Angove decided not to wait for the British Museum to send a team, and instead smashed his way inside with a sledgehammer, much to the chagrin of his associates. Undoubtedly, the prize of the collection was an ornately bejewelled sarcophagus. It was unlike anything previously uncovered, whereas hitherto the sarcophagus had shown a depiction of the occupant's face or of one of the many ancient Egyptian gods. This one was utterly blank. Under the gold Nemes headdress was simply a smooth black void that curved inwards like a bowl. It was completely black and flawlessly smooth, so it was clearly intentional. If that wasn't exciting enough, there was also part of an unusual ceremonial staff of some kind. Sweeping the filth into a pile against the wall, Wadsworth pondered the unusual staff as he looked around for a dustpan. In all his years working with archaeological artifacts and obscure antiques, he had never seen anything remotely similar. It appeared to have been carved out of mahogany and had a round onyx tip. The ball of black rock was hollow in the centre and had been filled with a strange black crystal. The staff was thought to have once been 5.5 feet in length, but had been snapped, leaving just over a foot of wood and the tip. There was something deeply unsettling about it. That, covered with a sarcophagi, had him reaching for the crucifix around his neck. Spotting the dustpan over on one of the rough wooden shelves housing fragments of pottery in straw-lined crates, Wadsworth popped the broom up against the wall, stretched his back. Pain shot down his left leg as his back crunched. The vigorous burst of manual labour had played havoc with his sciatica. It felt like he had toothache in his left buttock. Unpleasant was far too mild a word. "Blasted students," the aging academic grumbled. "I'm far too old for this kind of malarkey. I'll have 'em polishing the damn shovels tomorrow, you just see if I don't." Wincing and muttering oaths about the youth of today, he limped over to the rear of the room. As Wadsworth reached out for a dustpan, a noise from the corridor made him flinch, further inflaming his sciatic nerve. "Hello? Shakir, is that you? I've told you before, don't come in here to smoke. Go behind blasted staff room." Wadsworth was sick to the back teeth of sweeping up Shakir's dog ends. When no answer came, he snatched up the dustpan and hobbled back towards the pile of detritus. "What the deuce?" he whispered in confusion. The pile of dirt had been scattered, trampled towards the door of the next room, apparently by footsteps. "Bloody hell!" Wadsworth snarled and dropped the dustpan to the ground. If the students were a 5 on the scale of irritants, then the night watchman Shakir was a big fat 10. The man took laziness to a whole new level. In fact, if he'd been any more laid back, he'd been practically horizontal. "Right, I'm going to give that steaming great pillock a piece of my ruddy mind." Marching as swiftly as his leg would allow, Wadsworth barged through the green door to the second storage room. And if you want to know what's lurking in the storage room, you're going to have to buy a copy of the book. Okay. Yep, that was my excerpt of Eugene Angover, the staff of Neferenka. Just have a quick look at the comments, and then we'll bring everybody back on. So if you have any questions, get them down. Nick says, I was a linchpin. That's terrifying. If you could get me on the project and you get others by saying Tim and Callum were on board, there you go. They at least know they'll have a giggle, you know. Ah, yes. the Tim Mendees Rob. It doesn't sound right, does it? I know exactly what you mean there as a fellow wrestling fan. There. Yeah. Okie dokie. Right. Yeah, so yeah, a lot of comments saying that I did a good job, so thanks. I've made a bit of a mess of that, but never mind, nobody noticed. So we'll bring them all back. We got Callum. We got Declan. We got Destiny. And we got Brian. You're all in a different order. That's confused me. For some reason, the streams have all moved around.
But everyone shuffle.
Yeah. Musical chairs, isn't it? Yeah.
Cross over into the next window.
Go full Scooby-Doo and just walk right into Callum's room.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Matt. Yeah, do I implement a carry-on feel with the bumbling investigation? Yes, I do.
Yeah. Oh, I'll give it a good buffing.
Yes, and I do. He was basically inspired by Carry On Films and PG Woodhouse. But if you like your Lovecraftian and your Carry On, you should check out the Nookie-Nomicon.
Nookie-Nomicon.
Yeah, you
get
go.
it now. Link in the comments later.
Yeah.
Especially the audio book, which is
it's hilarious, isn't it? Nick says it was the wonderfully detailed description of the staff that made him decide to use a red herring in his story. Excellent. That's cool. Nice.
Nick does love a good staff.
Oh.
He's trying to get into Nomicon too here, is he?
He is, isn't he? Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. So you're brilliant. And I think we all had great fun working on that, didn't we? So, I've been in loads of different projects, as has Callum. But I gather that you guys were quite new to it. How did you find the experience, Declan?
Well, so I have 2 jumping on points for this project. I have the unofficial one where Nick was like, hey, I've got this great idea, but I can't talk to you about it until I speak to this person. And then didn't message me for like a week or so. And then once he got it confirmed with who was the original publisher back then, he was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I was like, right, I've got a story that I did in this style that's really bad. I would love to do that, but better this time. So
excellent.
That's what I did. It's been a really fun experience.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so how did you find this group project, Destiny?
Well, Nick, I can't remember if Nick came to me or if I saw that he was coming up with something. But I immediately wanted to jump aboard because nobody had ever asked me. I kept wanting people to ask me to be a part of something, and nobody ever did. And so when he asked me to come aboard, I'm like, absolutely 100% yes. Because I immediately had an idea in my head when he started telling me the idea for this book. I know exactly what I want to do. So I was honored that he asked me, and I really want to do another one of these.
Yeah, it's a great concept, isn't it? I mean, you can't go wrong with that old kind of. I mean, what it reminded me of most was the old Rod Serling Night Gallery. Mm-hmm. You know, because you had the guy, the gallery keeper, walking around, and he'd find a painting and go, "This depicts this," and that's how it kind of grabbed me, and I'm a massive fan of that. So so when he came to me with that, that's kind of what hooked me. I was like, oh yeah, I've got 8 ideas. Just narrow it down to 1 and I'll go with it. Yeah, Brian.
For the younger audience, it gives a very Warehouse 13 or The Librarians vibe to it.
Does. It does. Hey, the younger audience, come on! I've watched those. I'm not.
I think a couple of the Tales from the Hood had that kind of feel as well, where it was all collected objects and a kind of museum.
Yeah, and also
my children.
What's that?
I watch The Librarians with my children.
Nice. Yeah. So, Brian, how did you find the experience?
I loved it. I found out about it and pitched for it. You know, nice. I was kind of a relative unknown, and God bless Nick. He gave me an opportunity, and I had a short 1,000, maybe 2,000 word story, and had to flesh it out, and went, okay, I got to rebuild it from the ground up. And I had a blast because someone lets me talk even more about Francis and Rory all day.
Yeah, it's excellent, isn't it? When you sort of given free rein to do what you like doing. That's what, like you said to me. It was just like, so it was kind of like, yeah, can I be ridiculous and can I have a long word count? Just go and do something. just do what you like. Just do it.
At one point in mine, the story completely cuts out for like a good couple of paragraphs, just so that my characters can have a extended Twilight reference.
Yeah, Callum, like I said, you've worked in quite a lot of these projects now. So what was your experience working on this one specifically?
Yeah, I think it was great. I think, we both worked in projects that weren't run particularly well.
We've worked in great ones and ones that were
mentioning no names, don't worry.
Yeah.
No, but you know what it's like when you're in a project that's run well and it's looked after, it's great. And Nick kind of came with, firstly, there was no pressure because it wasn't pitched to a specific publisher or So we all kind of came in with just, let's see what we do, and then we'll take it to the publishers, because we knew we had a good team. We could kind of do something interesting. And then it was like, we'll take it to a publisher, and we knew we'd be all right with it.
Yeah, exactly. This is it. We knew when the stories were coming in, it's like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah, and I think usually you will kind of start with a publisher, all set up with a publisher, won't you? But
yeah,
with this, it was better that way, and you just kind of
I've done a couple that way now. Yeah,
lucky we started like that, didn't we? As well?
I think it's actually better because you don't have any of that pressure.
No,
you can just get something and polish it up as long as you like, take as long as you like with it, get it right, and then just go, here you go, it's ready to rock.
I think it's much better in that way sometimes. But it's nice to know that it's all kind of set up sometimes.
Oh, it is.
But then other times it's better to just go, we know we can do this, so let's just run with it.
Just do it. Yeah,
and someone will definitely take it because it's going to be fabulous.
So interesting. We were saying about the sort of the style influence. Nick says that it was actually the Friday the 13th, the series. I remember that. I remember that. It was very similar to Freddy's Nightmares, wasn't it? It was
Freddy's Nightmares rocked.
That was great. That was a great series.
I
wasn't it?
loved that.
Yeah,
and loads of like loads of celebrities that are celebrities now. Like that Hedwig. What's his name? John Cameron Mitchell, is it? You know Hedwig. You must know Hedwig and the Angry Inch.
Yeah.
Oh, well, send it. Yeah, God, should that be right? It's amazing. But he was in it as well. But yeah, he's done some amazing films. He's a great filmmaker. I'll send you Hedwig because you will absolutely giggle your tits off.
Excellent. Yeah, do it.
It's a musical, but it's like more along the lines of Rocky Horror kind of music. The sound and everything is more that kind of style.
Nice.
And it's a big fucking drag queen, so
yeah, brilliant. I'm in. Yeah, sign me up. I'm in. Yeah, because the Friday the 13th, I don't know if it ever really came over here, because we got Freddy's Nightmares like on late night Channel 4 or something.
And Tales from the Crypt.
And Tales from the Crypt and things like that, like on 4 later. Yeah, well, on 4 later, wasn't it? You used to get all, and after Euro Trash and Beavis and Butthead,
yeah,
you used to get all that, like the horror stuff, didn't you? And I don't know if the Friday the 13th series ever really came over here, but we did. But I got a VHS tape of it back in the early 90s, I think it was. And it was a similar thing, wasn't it? It was like you pick it up expecting Jason Voorhees, and it wasn't. It was an anthology series. So, yeah. So, yeah, for all you people at home, there you go. There's some something to go and hunt down. And that was the inspiration for this Ian novel. Yeah, Nick says that enjoying the experience was a must for him. And I think he definitely achieved that, I would say, because I never it was one of those projects that didn't feel like work to me.
No.
Yeah.
But it felt organized as well, didn't it? So, like it was. We all knew when our dates were and when to get in, but there was no pressure. It was all, everyone had free reign to do what they wanted to do. Really well run.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if anybody has any questions, get them down in the comments now. Now I've got a question for everybody. If you didn't do that object, what object would you do? If you could go back and do a different object, what would you do? Now I'm gonna start with that because I was thinking, I could probably go really risque with that, couldn't you? Like demonic love beads or something. That's kind of where I was. Come on, I've got to bring it to the gutter at some point, haven't I? So yeah, if I was going to do it, I'd do
the rampant but rancid rabbit.
Oh, dude. Oh, mate. Declan.
Well, the original version of this, I say, is technically this was I think it was a half paragraph tangent I went on in the original story, which was that what became the Timepiece of Chaos, was all about the key to humanity, which was about this wizard that went to the effort of making a key that could open any door created by a human. And then the joke was that the story would end with someone going, well, yeah, but isn't that just a skeleton key? And it,
Yes.
it was like the dumbest, worst story I'd ever done, but that's what I would have done.
Hey, it worked for Joe Hill, didn't it? Lock and Key. I thought that when I was watching the TV show of it, I was like, a pair of lockpicks had done that, wouldn't they?
Right.
You know, Destiny.
I'm honestly not sure. Maybe a doll, an antique doll.
Ah, nice. The old classic.
But adding like little twists and turns to it, so it wasn't your average cursed. There was more to it. I don't know.
Nice. Yeah, you could probably do a twist on it where it would actually be a good cursed doll. you could flip it so the cursed doll's trying to save people and everybody else is the bastard.
The cursed doll saves you from the psycho dildo or whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Psycho dildo.
You can't blame me for that one.
No, I know, right? Yeah, that's me. That's all on me, I'm afraid. Yeah, because that's something else it reminded me of was that, you know, the Conjuring universe. The bits where they go to the house and they've got the little museum and you got Annabelle in the box and all that. And that board game. I want them to do one about that bloody board game. They always show it. It's like, do the board game, damn it. Killer D&D. Let's do it. Let's go. But that's kind of another thing it kind of reminded me of. Brian?
I'm going to be honest. It would have to be something stupid. So my feeling is I would probably go with a pair of pants. If only so that Francis, if I could write an entire story of fart jokes from Francis with his wife just staring at him with just like bullshit with him, or like stop, I would do it. In fact, I might now. I might have to do a story about people set up
just write it and find the publisher.
I need to read that, so.
Yeah, it works for us, doesn't it, Callum? We'll just write some crap and something will come along and we'll go, oh, there you go. Or just bully a publisher into letting you do it.
I think House of Loki needs a few more fart jokes, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Well,
we haven't done much of that yet.
Note to self, more fart jokes, got it.
That brings us neatly to what was going to be my next question, which was going to be, basically, before we start wrapping this up, what are you guys all working on at the moment? What have you got coming up in the pipeline? So that brings us neatly to that, Callum, because House of Loki.
Well, yeah. Well, it's just all House of Loki at the minute. Yeah. There's there's loads of things we've got coming up at House of Loki. I'm still doing the odd adult thing. Maybe the odd sequel to some things.
Yes, yeah. Don't worry, it's happening.
But yeah, as far as me, adult stuff, I'm doing the odd thing that I was already involved in and just carrying on plodding through with them. But yeah, House of Loki, we've got loads coming up. We've got a new project firstly a project by Brian and Lynn Phillips that is due to come out any minute.
Oh, nice.
But they're going to be doing another one next year, and it's all going to be. Can I tell them? Can I tell them what it is? Dragons next year. We're doing the one that's coming out now is a steampunk one, but next year we're doing dragons. I've been promising people for ages we're going to have a good dragon anthology. But yeah, there's just tons of stuff coming up there, so I can't really even think about stuff that I want to do outside of House of Loki at the minute.
Yeah, I get that. You get so wrapped up in a project, it's hard to think about anything else, isn't it?
And there's always, as soon as something finishes, we're like, right, what are we doing next? So it's like, So with my adult work, I tend to just stick with things I'm already doing. And, that's sequels and variations, spin-offs and whatever. But
stuff.
Yeah. But
cool.
Mostly lots of young people stuff at the minute. So
I'm looking forward to it. I'm involved in one of them, which is a terrifying thought. Me writing for.
Yeah, it's your first time, isn't it, for young people?
Well, technically no, because I did once write a story that was intended for a young adult anthology, and I was told very politely by the publisher, no.
No, see, I knew you would be a natural for that. I pestered you, didn't I, for ages? I kept saying to you, look, you need to come and do something for young people, because I knew straight away you'd get it, and you do. I've read your story.
Yeah.
It comes natural to you to add a bit of fun, and you can go gory, you can go scary with kids, you can go quite far, especially for young adults, for kind of teenagers, and it comes natural to you because you just have that little edge that's like, okay, it's a bit scary, but we're having a laugh as well, that kind of thing.
I just had to make sure I pulled it back and didn't because I'd go into. Because obviously writing Lovecraftian stories like that's my thing. I can't do no suicide.
Certain subjects you kind of go.
Subjects I can't do, and they're sort of the big sort of tropes.
And even then, I mean, they're tackleable in that area.
Yeah,
but only if you do it seriously and you take it seriously and you're very careful, not for like what we're doing. Innsmouth eye thing that you have to be a bit lighter,
lighter touch.
No, yours is brilliant. They're all brilliant in that. They're all really good.
It's coming up really nice, and it's shaping up really nicely. So, Declan, what are you working on at the moment?
Well, normally this is where I'd list off the 20 different things that I'm doing on any given day. I actually took a break from writing to work on this project. Because I went from, okay, I'm very good at writing 100-word stories to, what do you mean you need 10,000 words?
Yeah.
So I had to completely rebuild my process from the ground up. But as Nick is saying in the comments, Tales of Meat, the completely mundane children of the gods.
Are we talking about that as well?
Yeah, I've got... hopefully got a story in that. At the moment I've got like 2 different ideas, and Nick is the worst influence, so I'm working on ideas at the same time. Nice. So we'll see how that goes. But January I'm planning on going full force back into writing, doing everything, but just slowly building back up.
Yeah, sometimes you need to do that, don't you, just to clear a bit of headspace.
Admin work is god awful and needs to be fired because absolutely nothing is set up properly and organized. So I will be yelling at that person.
Right, Destiny, over to you. What are you up to?
Well, I just got done doing one for the air for that Erie River. Is it? Yeah, doing it for that air one. And now I'm working on one for the historical figures versus cryptids.
Which is closing on the 15th of January. There we go, over at Black Ink Fiction. That's part of the same series that I did the Musketeers versus Cthulhu for.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Beth did was it Unicorns versus Clowns in Hell?
Yeah.
Paxton,
I love Beth.
She's fabulous. She's a goddess.
Excellent. Yeah, so that's what you're working on at the moment, something for that then.
Yeah. I'm busy with that right now.
Excellent. Brian, what are you up to?
Right now I'm working on the same one. I'm working for cryptids versus historical figures. And then I, as always, have all of Callum's calls for House of Loki. Good Master Callum gave me a chance, so every chance he's got an opening, I'm going to try to hit it with the story. Every last goddamn time.
Where you were going with that?
You're always welcome.
God bless you, Callum. I appreciate it. So I'm trying to think. The next one on my list is for Dreams. And I'm going to try to bring back my characters I made for Gears that showed up in Magic with Jack of all trades and the Sparrow.
Jack and Sparrow,
Jack and Sparrow. It's your fault, Callum. They didn't exist until you told me I had to write a steampunk story.
Nice.
So, thank you and damn you.
The great characters, though, aren't they? The fun.
Thank you.
I love that like you get that kind of, because I mean, this is what me and Callum do to each other quite a lot. We'll be talking about something ridiculous in the comments, because we do talk a lot of crap. Basically, me and Callum.
Or in these as well, or in these.
Yeah,
chats.
or in these, and it'll turn into an idea, and then before you know it, you're writing it.
Yeah.
That's
You just have to, though, don't you?
That's kind of what happened to me. He said, "You're in charge of a book," and I went, "What?" And he said, "It's steampunk," and I went, "Okay,
All right, am I? Okay, fine.
yes, I better figure out how to write that."
Yeah, this is it.
And it worked.
I've just spotted Nick said, I missed this earlier. My comments didn't refresh for some reason. That when we were talking about what he would have done if he didn't do what he did, he had the idea of a mechanical scarab that consumed flesh and replicated itself. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I love Egyptian stuff, but like Nick says, you'd have to do it justice. So I think I'd need some research proper to do.
I spent quite a lot of time researching that. Actually, that's a good question. Before we bring this to a close, how much research did you do for your stories, Callum? Did you sit and watch ghost towns? And
for mine, fuck all. I've just existed on the gay scene. He's a nasty, evil old queen who's a con artist. I'm from the gay scene in Liverpool. It just fell out. It's just horrible. But also, I've had times where I was a student and I watched daytime telly and shit.
Yeah, we've all been there, haven't we? We've all been there. Usually hungover or something like that.
Yeah.
Why am I'm just too hungover to turn it off.
Yeah, so no research at all because it was all in there.
Declan?
Oh, too much research. I probably spent more time researching than I did writing.
Yeah, I did.
One of my characters, because I apparently hate myself, speaks a combination of Scots and English. So she changes language like every couple of words. And that was a fun experience to write because it has been a while since I've spoken Scots. So that was a really fun experience.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah, I've done a 2 or 3 things that, with Egyptian trappings, but never actually in Egypt. So I spent a lot of time with a map of Cairo, and I went back and watched Hammer's The Mummy and things like that, because that was one thing Nick said he wanted. The atmosphere was paramount. So I was like, well, I want to go with that really old school Hammer atmosphere, That's why it's all lit in them sort of hues, the flickering gas lamps and all that kind of stuff. I was imagining Peter Cushing and all the rest of it. So that's how I went with mine. So Destiny, did you do any research into your family's creepy necklace?
Just stories that were passed down. That's all. Most of it came from my head.
Excellent. Brian?
Yeah, so I had the story, and then I thought, I need to have something that it connects to. So I started researching zombies and what would make a zombie. And I not to give everything away, but I think it's definitely Islamic, and it's weird. It's weird.
Right.
And I just found it and went, I'm using you. And then put it right in there, and then just went back to fart jokes.
Nice. Now I think Nick's got us beat here in terms of research.
Oh yeah.
Because apparently when he wrote his story, he paid $9.99 to take a drone flight through the church that his story's set in. Bravo! That is commitment.
That's commitment. Well done.
I like it. That's not just going on a Google picture search, is it? That's taking some time and effort, is that? I applaud that, sir.
Yeah, I feel ashamed for my one now. I just used to go to gay bars, love and watch daytime telly.
Well, you write what you know. That's what I always say.
That's what they all say. That's what all the best writers say.
Nick, when are we doing the second one?
Yeah, Nick. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of a sequel, Nick.
Same. Melody was another one of the authors in this said that she researched abandoned towns and some strange cults. Now that's my kind of research.
Nice.
I always go down rabbit holes doing that. Also downloaded floor plans to develop the layout of the house. Excellent. See, you know, a lot of people don't realize there's a lot of crap goes into writing stories. It's like my hard drive just gets filled with nonsense.
Yeah, and your Google search can be a bit incriminating.
Yeah, well, I'm currently writing a novel at the moment, which is set in a 1990s leisure centre. And so I spent ages downloading fucking schematics of pool filtration units.
Why didn't you watch the British Empire?
That's kind of where that was kind of what I was watching the British Empire and kind of went, I'm going to do a Lovecraftian version. But yeah, no, it's just like the amount of crap and tiles. I know a lot about tiles now because of writing about a swimming pool.
Yeah, if the cops check out
kind of grouting.
If the cops ever check out our browsers, we're in trouble. But
being a writer. It's that classic meme, isn't it? I'm a writer.
I'm not trying to get rid of bodies. Okay, I am, but I'm going to blame being a writer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of my searches was about how long it takes for human bodies to decompose, and I just thought, I hope no one's looking in on what I'm searching here.
Yeah, I did an in-depth dig on adipose seepage on bodies that have been in rivers, and how long it takes for the fat to then skin slippage. I need it for a story. Honest.
You have to take the book to court.
Yeah.
Not because you need a little bit of alone time with that one.
Right. Excellent. Well, thank you all for joining me this evening. Thank you lot out there thank you for your comments and thanks for watching. And the link to get the book is in the video information, either at the top or underneath. If it's on YouTube, it'll be underneath. If it's on Facebook, it'll be above. So grab a copy. It's a wonderful, wonderful creation. And I think we all want to know, Nick, putting you on the spot, when are we doing the sequel?
Yes.
These guys mentioned it. There you go. Just before we do, I forgot that there's the cover for people who wanted to see a bigger version.
That's freaking beautiful.
Yeah, it's a nice cover, isn't it? It's you did a good job on that. They did. So thank you all for tuning in, and go and grab yourselves a copy. So thank you all, and we'll see you later. So give them all a wave. Wave them all goodbye. There you go. There. Bye. I hate this bit. It's always like kids' TV, isn't it?
Night, children. Everywhere.
Oh.